I didn't think he'd find out. That's what I need everyone to understand first. I thought I was being careful. I thought I was just conducting a harmless experiment. I thought testing whether I could still attract attention while in a relationship would be private, contained, something he'd never discover. I was catastrophically wrong about all of that. My boyfriend, his name is Jameson, and I had been together for 3 years. Living together for 1 year. Really solid relationship. Comfortable, secure, happy. The kind of relationship where you've settled into routine and stopped worrying about whether you're still attractive to other people because you're confident in what you have. Except I started wondering. Started questioning whether I was still desirable outside this relationship. Started worrying that being in a committed partnership for 3 years had made me invisible to other men. Started needing to know if I could still get attention if I tried, so I tested it, created a secret dating app profile, not to actually date anyone, not to cheat, just to see, just to test, just to validate that I was still attractive and desirable and capable of getting male attention despite being unavailable. I told myself it was harmless, just an experiment, just curiosity, just needing to know I still had it. I convinced myself that as long as I didn't actually meet anyone or pursue anything real, it wasn't really wrong. It was just research, just data collection, just validation seeking that didn't threaten anything. I used photos that didn't include Jameson, pictures of just me from trips and events where he wasn't in frame. Created a profile that said I was looking for something casual and no strings attached because I didn't want anyone expecting serious commitment. Didn't mention I had a boyfriend, didn't mention I was in a relationship, didn't mention I was just testing whether I could get matches and messages and attention. Just presented myself as single and available, even though I absolutely wasn't. The attention came immediately, overwhelmingly, matches within minutes, messages within hours, compliments and flirting and interest. Men saying I was beautiful, gorgeous, exactly what they were looking for. Men asking to meet up, suggesting dates, offering to take me to dinner. Dozens of conversations, constant notifications. Proof that yes, I could still get attention. Yes, I was still desirable. Yes, I still had it. The validation felt incredible, felt intoxicating, felt like something I didn't know I needed until I had it flooding in. I kept it up for 3 weeks, checked the app daily, responded to messages, flirted back, collected compliments like they were currency, never agreed to meet anyone, never took it beyond the app, never actually pursued anything real, but engaged enough to keep the attention coming, engaged enough to maintain the validation flow, engaged enough that it became a habit, a routine, something I looked forward to checking multiple times per day. I was careful, used the app only when Jameson wasn't around, deleted it from my home screen and buried it in a folder, turned off all notifications so nothing would pop up when we were together, used it in the bathroom, in my car, during my lunch break at work, never when he could see, never when he could question what I was doing, never when I might get caught. Except I did get caught, because I got sloppy, because I got comfortable, because I stopped being as careful as I should have been. Nen einen es halaf horde tauten, winakur kopon, samidanartanatan. I left my phone on the couch one evening while I went to the kitchen to get water, just for 2 minutes, just stepped away briefly to grab a glass and fill it from the filter pitcher. Such a small, insignificant moment, such a routine action I'd done 1,000 times before. But this time was different. This time, I'd been checking the dating app right before getting up. This time, I'd left it unlocked on the screen I'd been looking at. This time, my guard was completely down, because I'd gotten comfortable and sloppy and overconfident that I'd never get caught. Jameson was sitting there on the couch watching TV. Some show I couldn't remember now, even though it was probably something we watched together regularly. My phone was face up on the cushion next to him, and it buzzed, multiple times in rapid succession, 3 or 4 notifications coming in within seconds of each other. He glanced at it casually, not trying to spy or snoop, just noticing the repeated buzzing sounds and lit-up screen in his peripheral vision while watching TV. And he saw the notification previews that appeared on my lock screen before I could get back from the kitchen to grab the phone and hide what was there. Multiple message notifications from the dating app, from different men, from someone named Marcus, whose preview text read, "You're gorgeous. When can we meet up? I'd love to take you out somewhere nice." From someone named Tyler, whose preview said, "Still thinking about your smile from your photos. Coffee this weekend." From someone named Dante, whose preview said, "You're exactly what I've been looking for. Let's talk more." 3 different men, 3 clear dating app notifications, 3 pieces of evidence that his girlfriend had an active profile on a dating platform, receiving romantic interest from multiple men who thought she was single and available. When I came back into the living room with my water glass, Jameson was holding my phone. Just holding it, looking at the screen, face completely neutral, in that terrifying way where someone is very upset but completely controlling their reaction. Not yelling, not throwing things, just deadly calm and contained. "Who's Marcus?" he asked. Voice quiet, even. "And why is he asking when he can take you out somewhere nice?" My stomach dropped, completely, utterly dropped like I was in free fall. All the blood drained from my face. My hand started shaking enough that water sloshed over the rim of the glass I was holding. "It's nothing. It's spam. It's just—" "It's not spam," Jameson interrupted. "It's a dating app notification. I can see the app icon clearly. Hinge. You have Hinge on your phone. You have an active profile that's receiving messages. And not just from Marcus. Also from Tyler and Dante based on the other notifications I saw. So I'll ask again, more completely this time. Who are Marcus and Tyler and Dante? And why are you getting messages from multiple men on dating apps asking to take you out and talking about your smile and saying you're exactly what they're looking for?" "Let me explain," I started, mind racing to find some explanation that would make this okay, some framing that would minimize what he'd discovered. "I think you should explain," he said, still with that terrible calm. "I think you should explain very thoroughly and very honestly why my girlfriend who I live with, who I've been with for 3 years, who I thought was committed to our relationship, has an active dating profile, receiving messages from multiple men who clearly think she's single and available and interested in dating them." I couldn't lie my way out of it, couldn't minimize it effectively, couldn't make it disappear or explain it away as something innocent. He'd seen the notifications. He knew what app they were from. He knew what it meant. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't going to accept some weak explanation about it being a joke or an accident or anything other than what it actually was. So I had to tell him some version of the truth, or at least a version of the truth that made me sound less terrible than the full reality. "It was just an experiment," I said quickly, words tumbling out too fast. "Just testing something. Just a curiosity thing. Just seeing if I could still get attention after being in a relationship for 3 years. It doesn't mean anything real. I wasn't actually going to meet anyone or do anything with any of them. It was just validation. Just ego stuff. Just wanting to know I'm still attractive to men even though I'm not available. That's all it was. Nothing more than that." Jameson stared at me for a long moment. Just stared. Processing what I'd just admitted. Processing the implications. Processing what this meant about me and about us and about whether he could trust me at all. Then he said, voice still dangerously calm, "You created a dating profile. While in a relationship with me, an active profile that receives messages from men, to test if other men would find you attractive, to see if you could get their attention and interest, to receive compliments and romantic interest from strangers. And you thought that was okay? You thought that was just an innocent experiment? You thought seeking validation from other men while being my girlfriend was acceptable behavior. I wasn't going to act on anything, I said defensively, hearing how weak my defense sounded even as I said it. I never met anyone. I never even considered actually dating any of them or doing anything physical. It was just messages, just online conversations, just collecting compliments that didn't mean anything, just validation that stayed completely virtual and had no real-world impact. Show me the profile, Jameson said flatly. Show me what you've been doing. Show me the messages. Show me how long this has been going on. Show me everything. Right now. No hiding. No deleting things first. Hand me the phone and show me everything you've been doing behind my back. I hesitated. Really didn't want him to see. Didn't want him to read all the flirting I'd been doing. Didn't want him to know how much I'd been engaging with these men. Didn't want him to see that I'd been doing this for 3 weeks, not just a day or two. Didn't want him to count how many different men I'd been talking to. Didn't want him to read the compliments I'd received and see how I'd responded to them. Didn't want him to know the full extent of what I'd been doing. Show me, he repeated, voice getting slightly harder. Right now. Or I'm going to assume it's even worse than I already think it is. Show me the profile and all the messages and conversations. Let me see exactly what my girlfriend has been doing while I thought we were in a committed, exclusive relationship. I unlocked my phone with hands that were shaking so badly I almost couldn't type my passcode correctly. Opened the dating app with a feeling of dread settling deep in my stomach. Handed the phone to him, even though everything in me wanted to refuse, wanted to delete everything first, wanted to hide the full scope of what I'd been doing. Watched his face while he scrolled through my profile, through my photos that didn't include him, through my bio that presented me as single and looking for something casual, through my conversation list showing dozens of active chats with different men. He scrolled in complete silence for several minutes that felt like hours, just reading, taking it all in, clicking into conversations and reading the exchanges, seeing the compliments men had sent me, seeing my responses thanking them and flirting back, seeing how engaged I'd been in these conversations, seeing how much time and energy I'd been putting into this experiment. His expression getting progressively harder and colder with each swipe, each conversation opened, each message read. Finally, he handed my phone back to me, just handed it back without looking at me, stared at the TV that was still playing, even though neither of us was paying any attention to it anymore. 3 weeks, he said quietly. You've been doing this for 3 weeks based on the timestamps I saw on messages. Almost a month. Dozens of different conversations. Hundreds of individual messages. Hours and hours spent flirting with men on dating apps while in a relationship with me. While living in this apartment with me. While sleeping in the same bed as me. While I thought we were happy and secure and committed to each other. We are happy, I insisted desperately. This doesn't change that. This doesn't mean anything about us. This was just me needing external validation. Just me being insecure. Just me wanting to feel attractive. It doesn't change how I feel about you or our relationship. Just what? Jameson asked, finally looking at me. Just you testing if you're still attractive to other men. Just you needing validation from strangers. Just you creating a profile that presents you as single and available and looking for casual relationships when you're absolutely not single. Just you spending 3 weeks actively flirting with dozens of men behind my back. Just you responding to their compliments and their interest and their request to meet up. Which part of all that is just anything? Which part is harmless or acceptable or compatible with being in an exclusive relationship? I wasn't cheating, I said, voice rising with desperation. I never met anyone in person. I never did anything physical. I never even seriously considered actually dating any of them. It was all just online. Just messages. Just words on a screen. Nothing real. You created a dating profile while in a committed relationship, Jameson said, voice still controlled but with an edge now. You actively sought romantic and sexual attention from other men. You responded to their interest positively. You flirted. You collected compliments about your appearance. You engaged in behavior that's fundamentally incompatible with being in an exclusive monogamous relationship. That's emotional cheating, even if it's not physical. That's betrayal of trust, even if you never met anyone in person. That's you being unfaithful, even if it stayed online. You're overreacting. Lots of people in relationships still want to feel attractive, still want validation. That's normal. That's human nature. Then they should get that validation from their partner, or from friends, or from feeling good about themselves, not from creating secret dating profiles and flirting with dozens of men, not from lying by omission about their relationship status, not from betraying their partner's trust for ego validation. So what are you saying? You're going to break up with me over this? Over me just wanting to feel attractive? He was quiet for a long moment. Really long. I could see him thinking, processing, making decisions. Then, I want you to message every single one of these men, right now. While I watch, tell them you have a boyfriend. Tell them you lied about being available. Tell them you were using them for validation. Send that message to every conversation. Do it now. What? Why? Because I want to see if you're actually sorry, if you actually understand this was wrong, if you're willing to destroy the validation you've been collecting, if you'll admit publicly that you were dishonest, so do it. Message every single one. Tell them the truth, or refuse, and I'll know this meant more to you than I thought. And hantakadorfu yasani pro so oyurayasayatani, and I didn't want to destroy the validation I'd built up. Didn't want to admit to these men that I'd been lying. Didn't want to lose the attention I'd become somewhat addicted to. But Jameson was standing there waiting, making this a test, making this about whether I chose him or chose the validation. I opened the app, started typing the same message over and over to different conversations. I need to tell you I have a boyfriend. I shouldn't have been on here. I was just looking for validation and that was wrong. I'm sorry I wasted your time. Some men responded with anger, called me a cheater, called me pathetic for needing validation that badly, said they hoped my boyfriend left me. Some didn't respond at all, just unmatched immediately. Some said they'd suspected I was taken because I never wanted to actually meet. Each response felt like a small death of the validation I'd been collecting. Each unmatch felt like losing something I'd been hoarding. After I'd messaged everyone and shown Jameson all the responses, he said, "Now delete the profile. Completely, not just the app. Delete your entire account so you can't just reinstall and log back in later." I hesitated again, didn't want to completely destroy it, wanted to keep the option of coming back if I needed more validation later. But his face told me this wasn't negotiable. This was required. So I deleted everything. The profile, the account, the app, all of it gone. "Now we need to talk about what this means," Jameson said. "About what you did and why you did it. About whether I can trust you. About whether this relationship can continue. I told you why I did it. I just wanted to know I was still attractive. That's all it was. But why did you need to know that? Why wasn't being in a relationship with me enough? Why wasn't me finding you attractive enough? Why did you need validation from strangers so badly that you'd risk our relationship to get it?" Because we've been together 3 years. Because we're comfortable. Because you don't compliment me as much anymore. Because I wanted to feel desired and pursued and wanted. Because I missed that feeling of being new and interesting to someone. So instead of talking to me about feeling underappreciated, you created a dating profile. Instead of asking me to be more attentive or complimentary, you sought attention from other men. Instead of working on our relationship, you went outside it for validation. That's what you chose. I didn't think it would hurt you because I wasn't going to actually do anything. But it does hurt me. It hurts that you needed attention from other men. It hurts that you presented yourself as single. It hurts that you flirted with dozens of guys behind my back. It hurts that you lied by omission for 3 weeks. It hurts that I wasn't enough for you, that my attention and desire wasn't sufficient, that you needed more than I was giving but didn't tell me. You just went looking elsewhere. I'm sorry, I really am. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just needed validation. Then you should have gotten it from me. You should have told me you were feeling insecure. You should have communicated instead of creating a secret dating profile. You should have worked on our relationship instead of betraying it. We sat in heavy silence, both processing, both understanding that something fundamental had broken, that trust had been shattered, that this wasn't something we could just move past easily. I need time, Jameson finally said. I need space to figure out if I can forgive this, if I can trust you again, if I want to stay in a relationship where my partner needs attention from other men to feel good about herself. Please don't leave. Please let's work through this. I'll do anything. What I need is for you to understand why this was wrong. Really understand. Not just apologize because you got caught. Not just delete the app because I made you. But actually comprehend why creating a dating profile while in a relationship is betrayal. Why seeking validation from other men is emotional infidelity. Why testing if you can still get attention demonstrates that you're not fully committed. Do you understand that? Do you actually see it? And looking at his face, seeing the hurt I'd caused, feeling the weight of what I'd done, I finally did understand. I'd tested if I could still get attention while taken. And the test had cost me everything. Because the attention I got from strangers meant nothing compared to the relationship I was losing. Because validation from men on apps was empty compared to the real connection I'd damaged. Because feeling desirable to people who didn't know me was worthless compared to being loved by someone who did. I understand, I said quietly. I understand that I fucked up, that this was wrong, that I hurt you for something meaningless, that I risked us for validation that didn't actually matter. I understand. Then you understand why I need space, why I need time, why I need to figure out if I can move past this. So I'm going to stay with my brother for a few days, and we'll talk when I'm ready. But right now, I need distance. He packed a bag and left that night, went to his brother's place to stay temporarily, left me alone in our apartment with the consequences of my experiment, left me to sit with what I'd done and what it meant and what I'd potentially destroyed, left me without any certainty about whether we'd recover from this or whether it was truly over. Those few days he'd mentioned turned into a week, then 2 weeks, then 3 weeks of minimal contact and maximum uncertainty. He texted occasionally, brief messages saying he needed more time, that he was still processing everything, that he didn't know yet if he could forgive this or if he wanted to continue the relationship. Each message felt like another nail being driven into the coffin of what we'd had together. Each delay felt like him moving further away from me and closer to a final decision that wouldn't include us staying together. I tried desperately to give him the space he'd asked for, while also trying somehow to show him I understood what I'd done wrong and how sorry I was. Sent carefully worded texts apologizing sincerely, without pressuring him to respond or come back or make any decisions before he was ready. Told him I'd deleted everything. The app, the account, all the conversations, all traces of what I'd been doing. Told him I understood now why it hurt him so much and why it was such a serious betrayal of trust. Told him I'd never do anything remotely like that again if he gave me another chance. Told him I was genuinely sorry for needing validation outside our relationship instead of communicating with him about feeling underappreciated. But all my words felt completely empty and insufficient. Apologies felt like they meant nothing when weighed against what I'd actually done. Nothing I said could change the fact that I'd created a dating profile and flirted with dozens of men for 3 weeks. Nothing could erase the hurt I'd caused or rebuild the trust I'd shattered. Nothing proved I understood the weight of my betrayal in ways that would actually make him feel safe with me again. During the second week of separation, I got a long text from him, the longest message he'd sent since leaving. It said, "I've been thinking constantly about what you did and what it means, thinking about the dating profile and all the messages and the validation seeking, thinking about what it says about you and about us, and about what you actually need from a relationship. And I keep coming back to the same realization over and over. You weren't just testing if you could get attention. You were testing if you still had options, if you could still attract other men who might be interested in dating you seriously, if you could still potentially start over with someone new if you decided you wanted to. You were keeping yourself open to possibilities beyond me, making sure you weren't trapped in this relationship, making sure you could leave and find something else if you decided I wasn't enough anymore. Whether you consciously framed it that way in your mind or not, that's what the behavior actually means. That's what creating a dating profile while in a committed relationship actually represents. I read that message maybe 30 times. Read it over and over, trying to see if he was right, or if he was reading too much into what I'd done. And the more I thought about it honestly, the more I had to admit he might be right. Maybe I hadn't consciously been thinking, I need to make sure I have backup options in case this relationship doesn't work out. But maybe subconsciously that's exactly what I'd been doing. Maybe some part of me was always keeping one foot out the door, always maintaining awareness that there were other possibilities if I wanted them, always testing to make sure I wasn't fully trapped or committed in ways I couldn't escape if I decided to. After 3 full weeks, he finally agreed to meet and talk in person about what happens next. We met at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory, not our apartment with all its shared history and memories and reminders of what we'd built together. Public space where neither of us could get too emotional or dramatic. He looked exhausted when he walked in, looked like someone who'd been carrying something impossibly heavy and painful for weeks without relief. Looked like someone who'd made a difficult decision and was about to deliver news he knew would hurt but couldn't avoid. We sat down with our coffees, made awkward small talk for maybe 30 seconds. Then he said, "I've been thinking a lot about what you did, thinking about the dating profile and the messages and the flirting and the validation seeking, thinking about what it means for us and for who you are and what you actually need from a relationship that you're not getting. And I've realized some important things that I need to share with you." "I'm listening," I said carefully, already dreading whatever he was about to say based on his tone and body language. "I realized that you weren't just testing if you could get attention from other men," he continued. "You were testing if you still had options available to you, if you could still attract male interest that might potentially lead somewhere real if you pursued it, if you could still potentially start over with someone new if our relationship didn't work out the way you hoped. You were keeping yourself open to possibilities beyond me, making sure you weren't fully committed or trapped, making sure you had backup plans in case I turned out not to be enough for you. Whether or not you consciously thought about it in those exact terms, that's what the behavior actually means. That's what it represents on a deeper psychological level." "That's not true. I wasn't thinking about leaving or finding someone else." "Maybe not consciously or explicitly," he interrupted gently. "But subconsciously, that's exactly what you were doing. People who are fully committed to their relationships don't create dating profiles just to see if they can still get attention. They don't need to know if other options exist, because they're not considering other options at all. They're focused entirely on the relationship they're in. The fact that you needed to test your attractiveness to other men means some part of you was always keeping one foot out the door, always maintaining awareness of alternatives, always making sure you weren't trapped without escape routes. I just wanted validation. Then you should have gotten it from me. You should have told me you felt unappreciated. You should have asked me to compliment you more, pursue you more, make you feel more desired. You should have worked on us. Instead, you went to strangers. Instead, You presented yourself as available to other men. Instead, you collected attention and compliments and interest from people who wanted to date you. That's not just validation seeking. That's keeping your options open. So what are you saying? Are we breaking up? He was quiet for a moment. Then, yes, we're breaking up. Because I can't be in a relationship with someone who needs attention from other men to feel good about herself. I can't trust someone who created a secret dating profile for 3 weeks. I can't build a future with someone who tests if she still has options while supposedly being committed to me. I deserve someone who's all in, who doesn't need validation from strangers, who doesn't wonder if she can still attract other men. And you deserve to be with someone who makes you feel so desired that you never need to test anything. Please don't do this. Please give me another chance. I'll never do anything like this again. You're right. You won't. Because we won't be together. Because I'm choosing to leave someone who betrayed my trust, rather than staying and wondering if you're secretly testing things again. Because I value myself enough to walk away from someone who needed to know if she still had options. It was just an experiment. Just a test. Just curiosity. And the experiment failed. The test proved that you're not as committed as I thought you were. The curiosity cost you the relationship. You tested if you could still get attention while taken. And what you got instead was single. That's the result of your experiment. That's what you learned. Was it worth it? Was the validation from strangers worth losing what we had? I had no answer, because it wasn't worth it, not even close. The attention from men on apps was empty and meaningless compared to what I'd destroyed. The compliments from strangers who didn't know me were worthless compared to losing someone who actually loved me. The validation I'd collected for 3 weeks couldn't fill the hole left by losing 3 years of real relationship. I'm sorry, I said again. Uselessly, inadequately. I know you are, but sorry doesn't undo what you did, doesn't rebuild trust, doesn't change that you chose validation from strangers over protecting what we had. I hope you learn from this. I hope you figure out why you needed that attention so badly. I hope you work on yourself so you don't do this to someone else. But I can't be the person who stays while you figure it out. I'm done. He stood up to leave, paused, looked at me one more time. You wanted to know if you could still get attention while taken. You got your answer. You can. Dozens of men found you attractive and interesting and worth pursuing. But none of them mattered. None of them knew you. None of them loved you. And now none of them can help you. Because you're not taken anymore. You're single. You got exactly what you were testing for. Hope it was worth it. Then he left. Walked out of the coffee shop. Out of the relationship. Out of my life. And I sat there alone with the consequences of my experiment. With the knowledge that I'd tested something that didn't need testing. With the understanding that I'd destroyed something real for something empty. With the realization that validation from strangers means nothing when you've lost the person who actually matters. It's been 6 months since the breakup. 6 months since he found the dating app notification on my phone. 6 months since I tried to explain away 3 weeks of seeking attention from other men as just an experiment or just validation seeking. 6 months since he made me message every man telling them I had a boyfriend. 6 months since he left and never came back. I haven't created another dating profile. Haven't tested anything. Haven't sought validation from strangers. Not because I don't still sometimes crave that attention, but because I understand now what it costs. Understand that collecting compliments from people who don't know you is meaningless. Understand that feeling desirable to strangers is empty compared to being loved by someone who knows all of you and chooses you anyway. I think about that night constantly, about leaving my phone on the couch, about the notification that appeared at exactly the wrong moment, about Jameson's face when he saw it, about having to show him all the messages and conversations I'd been having, about watching him realize I'd been doing this for weeks, about the hurt in his eyes that I'd put there. I understand now what I did wrong. I tested something that didn't need testing. I sought validation outside my relationship instead of working on the relationship itself. I created a dating profile that presented me as single and available when I wasn't. I flirted with dozens of men while living with my boyfriend. I betrayed his trust for 3 weeks straight just to collect attention that meant nothing. I prioritized ego validation over protecting what we had. And I understand why he left, why he couldn't forgive it or move past it. Because I'd shown him that I wasn't fully committed, that I needed attention from other men to feel good about myself, that his desire for me wasn't enough, that I was keeping my options open by testing if I could still attract interest, that some part of me was always wondering if there was something better out there, that I valued validation from strangers over loyalty to him. The worst part is that the attention I got was meaningless. All those matches and messages and compliments from men who didn't know me, they meant nothing once I lost Jameson. They couldn't fill the emptiness. They couldn't replace what I'd destroyed. They couldn't undo the consequences of my choices. They were just words on a screen from people who wanted something from me, but didn't actually care about me. Empty validation that cost me everything real. I tested if I could still get attention while taken. The answer was yes. I could absolutely still attract male interest despite being in a relationship. Dozens of men found me attractive and interesting enough to match with and message. The test was successful in proving I was still desirable to strangers, but I got single instead. Because the test itself was the betrayal. Because creating the profile was the problem, not whether or not I could get matches. Because seeking that attention demonstrated that I wasn't fully committed to my relationship. Because the validation I was collecting was evidence that I valued how strangers saw me more than I valued what I had with Jameson. The experiment proved I could get attention, but it also proved I wasn't ready to be in a committed relationship. Wasn't secure enough to not need that outside validation. Wasn't mature enough to communicate my insecurities instead of seeking attention elsewhere. Wasn't trustworthy enough to stay when feeling underappreciated instead of testing my options. I tested if I could still get attention while taken. I got single instead. And learned that some experiments aren't worth conducting. That some questions don't need answers. That some validation isn't worth seeking. That destroying something real for something empty is the worst trade you can make.